I feel like lobbying has a bad connotation to it. My whole job is to make sure you're at the table. If you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu. Like community banking, it's relationship business.
Here we are. We're back.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we're back with a new sign. Coleman and the guys at Maker over there.
Yeah, Compound Ventures.
Compound Ventures. Almost as important as the sign is we have a new guest today, Mr. Charlie Spakes. How are you?
Good. No, that sign looks incredible.
Yeah, thanks.
It's got about my hairline, too, so it looks great next to me.
Yeah. Well, now you know what podcast you're on as well. So
Yeah, in case you forget.
Yeah. But no, super excited to have Charlie here today. Not only would I consider him a good friend, but also one heck of a golfer, and has led me, I'm glad he's got a strong back, has led me to back-to-back member showings. We won't talk about how they've ended, but showings in the shootout there, which has been incredible. It's been a great experience for me. So
we're not greedy. We take bronze, too.
That's right, we do.
Yeah.
A couple third-place finishes, but we'll take them. No. Now, Charlie, it's been great to have you on today, and I know you have you've got a really unique role, specific here to Northwest Arkansas. But kind of take us from the beginning. Where'd you grow up? Who is Mr. Charlie Spakes? Yeah. Loaded question.
Yeah, I mean, grew up in your dream hometown, BB, Arkansas.
Yes.
People think I make that up. It says it on the sign. So when
Does
you
it
come
really?
in, yes, or I mean,
Your dream hometown?
with a rainbow and dream hometown under
Yeah.
it. So
Incredible.
perfect place to grow up and a great place to move out of. But
Good place to be from.
it's a great place to be from.
Good.
But no, so grew up a little, I guess it's a 30-minute interstate community away from Little Rock and
Which direction?
north.
Okay.
Northeast-ish.
Yeah.
It's just between Cabot and Searcy.
Yeah.
So, White County.
Not too far from Memphis over there.
Nope, not too far at all, about an hour and a half. So, started there and went to college in Russellville for a couple semesters, and then transferred up here to U of A, and then my mom sent me down to Little Rock away from temptation for law school. But
So you went to the UALR law school down there? Okay.
Bowen School of Law.
Bowen School of Law. Okay. Well, you skipped over a pretty important piece there of your athletic achievements.
Well, lack thereof.
BB High School.
BB High, all states, 2 sports, we'll take it.
Yeah.
There's nothing more my wife loves to hear me tell about how awesome I was when I was 18.
Yep.
How close are they to finishing the statue?
They're still working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't got my Jumpman pose down yet. But
No.
as soon as I can,
Once you figured your pose out, then they'll be able to.
we'll start chiseling hopefully in like 2028.
Is it just one large block out there to do it with your name on it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, that's good. And your number was what when you were playing ball?
12.
Okay, and that's been retired, I assume.
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
Okay, good.
So basketball,
Basketball and football.
okay.
Yeah, 12 in both sports?
Yep.
Incredible.
Quarterback. Yep.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I got quarterback energy.
Yeah, 5A.
Leader.
Yeah.
Steady pocket presence.
Leader
across the table over there.
That's right. Leader of men. It just oozes out from him.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Good. I hope my boss is listening to this.
Oh, man, this is definitely a hype up podcast. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so UALR, Bowen School of Law, and then tell us about your first job outside of law school.
So Governor Hutchinson got elected, won the election in November. My mentor, who I'd law clerk for out of Russellville, became his chief of staff. And so my last semester of law school, I went over and worked for the governor in his boards and commissions office and did that full time until I passed the bar that summer. And then so I had the great honor of having, a governor be my first boss or real first boss. So it was an incredible experience. Working in a state capitol is with, first Republican back in 2015. He was not, it's not like it is now, 2015, 2014. It was pretty much an underdog race.
Yeah.
So when he won, it was super exciting. And it was lucky for me and a bunch of other type of young Republicans who, that the party didn't have a super deep bench. Democrats had been in power for about 100 years, so gave a lot of young people the opportunity to get some real experience really quick.
Yeah. Well, man, that had to be really, really neat. Yeah. So you said you were on the boards and commissions. You were working on the boards and commissions. So kind of detail out what that all entails, because there's a lot that goes on there, right?
There is, there's I think around 250 boards and commissions, from the banking commission to the pollution control commission to the sanitation. So almost everything you can think of, and I know y'all know this as bankers, has some sort of regulators. And in a lot of state capitals, those are made up of their peers and colleagues. So we handled making sure the governor was apprised on what board positions were coming up, who was coming off, the legal requirements, because there's certain parameters people have to do. Sometimes it's the state claims commission where one has to be an attorney, one has to be a public consumer, or sometimes it's like the realtor commission where they're almost all have to be licensed realtors. So we just kind of handled that process, and just like you see in some of the more contentious Washington hearings with like Supreme Courts, a lot of those positions and a lot more of the highly wanted positions have to be Senate confirmed. So that just brings politics in it. And I couldn't tell you how many times we thought we had someone great, and happened he had dated a state legislator's sister and done her wrong. And, and he just did not want him to have it. Or, it's a Little Rock, I call it Capitol High. It's a small world when the politics. And when you get out to those more rural communities, it even gets even smaller, where politics is super local.
Interesting.
So how hard was the bar?
It was way harder than law school.
Because I saw Leonardo DiCaprio pass, and he studied in like 2 weeks in that movie. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, he's a lot
Catch
smarter
me if you
than
can.
Yeah. He was also a scam artist, I believe.
So it might have been a fake
No, he might have been a good
passing
attorney.
grade.
Yeah. He was perfect for
He
the
would have been a heck
profession.
of a lobbyist. So, no, the bar is way worse than law school. I think in Arkansas, back when we passed it, I think 50% didn't pass.
Really?
Yes. So
What's on? Is it just like
it is
the law?
I
like,
mean,
here's the law. You better know it.
the first day is essentially 8 to 5, and then I forget exactly how many, but 200 multiple choice questions, and then the next day is all writing, and it's between like 7 subjects, and they pare it down to 3, and it's another 8 to 5
So
type of test.
You're there
and then
for a while.
2 full days.
Man, what's worse than taking the bar? Grading the bar.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, who puts this on? Is this like,
Other attorneys?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Who are just probably gleefully
Just red
checking
marking.
checking your work and redlining.
So many red lines through my writing.
Yeah, that's great.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
No, but it was not stressful for me because I knew I probably wasn't going to ever be in a courtroom. Just not my thing. I didn't like billable hours. Don't like that. So not as much pressure. I wanted to pass it almost out of vain. Just
hear you.
that. I mean, that's really the scariest part when you talk to an attorney. Is they used to put it on the courthouse steps before the internet, and when I passed it, it's essentially the same thing, just the courthouse steps of the internet. And there's a countdown clocker, and then the first thing you do is it flashes a whole list of names. You go finding your name, and then you go find everyone's name that you didn't like or that you do like.
Of people who passed or didn't pass?
It just tells people that passed.
Oh, okay.
So if their name's not on there, it's not like you can say, I passed. No, it's there for everyone to see.
Man.
It's cutthroat.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not fun. I couldn't imagine.
And so what did taking the bar, where did that take you in your career? You said you were working for the boards and commissions?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I was a licensed attorney, and, for better or worse, the public and believes people, the attorneys, especially attorneys that have passed the bar, have some sort of knowledge about them, which was, to me, I didn't see it at the time, but it was super, super useful. I was 25, asking grown men and women to do things for the governor and trying to explain policy and legality of reason why. And it's a very hard bar when you're that young to get respect anyway. So being able to have that behind my name gave me some credence to these people that otherwise probably would have just laughed me off.
Right.
Yeah, so it opened a lot of doors for you, I would assume.
It did.
Okay. And then you, obviously that's not the last step in your journey. So tell us where you went from there. Did you work for the governor throughout his entire term?
No, I made it with the governor for about 2 years. And then the fall of 2016, the Retail and Grocery Association, which association world's, very interesting. I know you are a member of the Banking Association, and it's essentially a big association that represents all of the retailers and grocers in Arkansas at the state capitol. Well, their CEO position came up, and I was lucky enough to have tried to do a lot of good work for a lot of Arkansas businesses like Harps and Dillard's and Edwards Food Giant and Walmart, and got to work on issues for them. And I got hired with them and in the fall, and kind of just thrown into fire lobbying. Had no idea really how to do it. There's no one that tells you how to do it. I was the boss, I guess. So it's not like I got to call someone or I got to look up like, hey, what's this role entail? They kind of hire you the thought that you know what it is. So that was super interesting. I mean, I was 26 at the time. And ahead of my board was Home Depot, Target, Dillard's, Walmart, Kroger, and Edwards Food Giant and Harps at the time. So we had a bunch of issues, and that was super helpful for me because it ranged from tax issues to food stamp issues to Walgreens having prescription and medical issues, medical billing. And so it really ran the gambit and let me get a depth of tons of issues and how to lobby those issues, which is it's super helpful.
Yeah, and you already had a relationship with folks in the Capitol as well, and so I assume that only does good things for you in your ability to have those discussions.
That's all lobbying is, like community banking. I mean, it's relationship business. My mentor told me that when I did get the job. He was pretty frank. He's like, just tell them the truth, even if you know they don't want to hear it, because if you don't, you might get them to do something that one time, and then they're going to figure you out very quickly, and you're going to be a dead man walking around the Capitol.
Yeah.
So that's all lobbying is. I mean, you're representing. It's very similar to attorney in some ways. Is that you have a client, and you're representing their interest to the people who make votes, and a lot of people, I feel like lobbying has a bad connotation to it in the general public. I have people that I mess around. I tell them I'm an advocate whenever they ask me what to do, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
And when you ever talk to a state legislator, they'll tell you that it's super needed. Whether it was a grocery issue or now I work for Black Hills Energy, an energy company, or utility issue or energy issue. they're part-time legislatures. So they're farmers and bankers and attorneys and school teachers and old principals and realtors. If it's not in their wheelhouse, they have no idea the real issues that can go in on some of this. And a good example of that is when working for the Grocery Association, they wanted to limit SNAP food grants. Grants to not being able to use it for sugary drinks, candy, anything that they deemed wasn't healthy. And so that's a very kind of easy issue for Republicans to get behind, is eliminating that. And personally it is. And then I talk to my grocers, especially small grocers, and they're like, we don't care what they buy, but it's just, if we have to be the police on this, then we're going to have to upgrade our system. It's going to cost me $200,000 as a small grocer that has 4 stores.
Right.
And so, finding those issues and being able to communicate is like, listen, we understand what you're trying to do, but what you're doing is a tax burden on business, essentially. You're almost taxing us to do your issue. And luckily we won that issue, but that was the first time that I had to have some of those real hard conversations with people that just did not agree with me.
Yeah. Time, energy, overhead, resources that a lot of people don't, and it makes sense, right? A lot of people would not have an understanding of exactly what you said. And hey, this is great. And while we theoretically, it makes a lot of sense, hey, let's put this into actual figures and show, this is truly how much this is going to impact us on our daily business, and cut back on what we can actually provide to our customers. Funny that you say that, because I think we work in a similar type world here, that feels like sometimes the burden can be a little steep, and in community banking, and that's why we've got a great association there, and we've had Lori on the podcast, been able to talk to her, which has been really neat. But if you subsidiary principle, are you aware of that principle?
I am not.
Man, I get to educate today. Yeah, I would have passed the bar, by the way. No,
maybe candy bar.
No. The idea is that I guess in the Catholic Church that they were able to, someone was able to decide, well, hey, it's the folks that are actually doing the work, doing the jobs, that we should probably poll when making our decisions. So the idea is, how can you actually get down, through the politics, through the levels of government or legislation or whatever you want to call it, to the actual decision makers. And a lot of times that's really, really hard to do. For us as banks, it's really challenging. Not for us necessarily as banks, but for sometimes our maybe our regulators, or for sometimes those making decisions in Washington, it's hard for them to understand what a customer at a community bank is actually thinking, and what matters to them. And a lot of times they're not sending somebody into the fray to do that. So it's interesting. Your job kind of does that, right? You are able to almost get to that ground level and be able to represent those, that are actually being impacted by those decisions, on a very personal level.
Yeah, and that's what a lobbyist does. And I was a contract lobbyist there for a while too. And my whole spin, I feel like the lobbying is house of cards related. Everyone thinks people are getting pushed in front of buses, and
what a wild show.
Yeah, getting extorted, and it's really not like that. I used to tell clients, I was like, I can't make anyone vote a certain way. All I can do is get you in a room with them.
Yeah.
And let you tell their side of the story. And so that's essentially what lobbying does, is getting if you are not at the table, you're probably on the menu. And so
that's well said.
My whole job is to make sure you're at the table, picking out what we eat. So,
yeah.
So, okay. So, you went from that role as CEO to Black Hills, or was there a stop in between?
Yeah, nope. So I did that, and then I was also at a contract lobbying firm where I had all the fun SIN clients from lottery to county line liquor stores to
Wow.
to marijuana. So
Yeah.
kind of ran the gambit of the sins.
Yeah, that's
but they sin sell, I guess. So
Is that just
there's a whole city
they want
dedicated
you
to
to-
that.
yeah. They just want you to lobby on one issue, and so is that kind of what contract lobbying
so
is?
yeah, it can kind of run the gambit. Some companies will need an issue and they'll hire contract lobbyists or a bunch of contract lobbyists during one session, during legislative session, and you get paid for that session. Some bigger clients that need work around the clock will put you on retainer, and you essentially lobby for all those interests.
Yeah.
So if another company comes that has opposing views, you are conflicted out.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the client's needs. I mean, most of your big companies that you run into that are regulated at all probably have a contract lobbyist on retainer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went from an association to contract, and now you are working
Now I'm in-house.
for in-house.
In-house.
So there's all kinds of ways to lobby.
Yeah, in-house is, I'm a contract lobbyist as one client, and that's it. And that's my whole job is to keep my company appraised and help with policy and, be that government affairs person for them at the Capitol 24/7.
Okay.
And that's specific to the state of Arkansas or whichever state that lobbyist would or that government affairs person would reside in.
Yeah,
right?
some companies do it differently. I've had friends that Tyson, their in-house covers Arkansas, South Carolina, Georgia, Walmart, Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas. So it just kind of depends how the company has it laid out. A lot of times, if you're all over the nation, you'll have someone that is over a general area, and they might hire some contract lobbyists to keep them apprised because they can't be everywhere at once. And so it just kind of depends on the structure of the company.
Okay.
Where's Black Hills at? Are they just in Arkansas?
No, we are in 8 states.
Okay.
Black Hills, our corporate headquarters, is in South Dakota, probably 6 miles from Mount Rushmore.
Wow.
So we're in Arkansas, Wyoming, Iowa, Nebraska, Colorado, Kansas, Arkansas, and a little bit in Montana, but not huge.
Flyover states.
We are right in the middle.
Yeah.
God's country.
All the
right.
square ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's right.
Okay, so what are some of how long have you been with Black Hills?
I'll be going on 4 years this fall.
Okay. What has been, and forgive me if I say this not very gracefully, what has been one of the most rewarding issues that you've lobbied for on their behalf?
And see, this is why it's so different than my old contract lobbying where it was a bunch of crazy fun issues, what I call fun.
Yeah.
It always fun when you get to help. Probably the biggest issue that I put the most time in was which you're going to fall asleep as soon as I say it, but is 811 is essentially call before you dig. So if you want to dig in your backyard or you're a construction company and you've got the law says you have to call so all the utilities can mark their assets. Well, what was happening is we had that in the place, but there was no enforcement. It was under the AG, but it was really hard and it was kind of diluted, and the fines weren't very much. And so what was happening is contractors, third parties, would just dig the average, and the reason for that is they would just not wait the 3 days because to them 3 days is money.
Right.
That's where my crews can't be. So the average fix for a natural gas pipeline normally is probably $1,000 to $2,000, which is not much to them.
No.
Now fiber is about 15 to 25 grand. So they made sure those were marked.
Wow.
But so we in Arkansas were 49 out of 50 as far as hits per 1,000 locates. That's calling in to put in a request to for someone to mark. We were 49th out of 50, almost triple our next closest state in our territory. So it's a really big issue for us because of public safety. I mean, you'd never want gas coming out of the ground because you never know where it goes. It can go. I can show you videos and videos of explosions that happened because someone hit a gas line. And so we were just getting, we were in Benton County the year before we passed the legislation. I think we had 300 hits. That's someone hitting a line and natural gas going in the air and us having to repair it.
That was when?
We passed this in 2023. So, 2022. And so we worked with the AG's office, Attorney General Tim Griffin, and he understood the issue, and he helped. I helped write a bill that really put a lot of financial penalties on that.
Yeah.
And he enforced them, and since then we've seen some really, really big payback for us as far as hits.
Okay.
We are down 20-30% year over year. So it was super rewarding, not very sexy.
So somebody comes out there. How do they know where that line is? Metal detector or something?
Yeah, they had. Well, we put.
Is there a big map?
There's
a big
map.
There is maps, and then it's getting better. There are some old lines that we just can't locate because back then there wasn't a technology.
Yeah.
There's a general map of it, but there's not the technology that's in it now that our equipment can go like, okay, here it is.
Yeah.
Here's it. So we'll mark it with you'll see the little, if you ever drive around, the little flags. The yellow flags are for gas, and we have different colors for cable and everything else. Yeah. And then we essentially get 18 inches on either side of that flag that we call like, hey, it's somewhere in here.
The no zone.
Yeah, we can't tell you it's right here, but so it's somewhere in there. Do not dig.
Yeah.
Dig in this.
Is it normally like 3 feet deep? Is that?
Yeah, it depends. It depends where. Especially up north of West Arkansas, a long time ago, it was really expensive to bore under rock.
Rocky hole.
Yeah. So some of those lines that we got down as far as we could with the technology and the trying to keep costs down for customers, and then put them under.
Yeah.
Some of them just came back up with some trees that pulled them up.
Yeah, we had about 200 of those.
Did you? Yeah, that was crazy. We had some friends that big old root ball just popped that gas line straight up.
Yeah.
So,
Really?
yeah, crazy deal. But yeah, so well, let's see. And what is that? What precipitated your move to Northwest Arkansas?
Well, I got married. And then my wife was pregnant, and then I had a stepdaughter that was 4. And private schooling is really expensive in Little Rock. Little Rock just wasn't where we felt comfortable raising a family. And then contract lobbying for me, why it was a lot of fun and had some nice financial parts to it, was just not very conducive to being a good husband or dad. When you've got Deloitte or someone that has a contract and they're in on Wednesday night, that you might be out, entertaining clients or helping them talk with agencies or whatever. So it was a lot of late night work, and so I'd value my time with the family and my wife more than I did in a paycheck. So Black Hills was awesome. They reached out and gave me an offer, and the main reason I took is because it was in Northwest Arkansas, and for a lobbyist, you usually have to be right around the state capital or DC if you're a federal lobbyist. So the opportunity to do what I love and be in Northwest Arkansas was a dream come true.
Yeah. Well, one other cool piece of your story is that you have some banking bloodlines. Your grandpa, right?
Yep. 22 years.
22-year banker. in good old Northeast Arkansas over there. Is that
Yes.
accurate? Or
Yeah,
where
yeah.
was he?
He was BB, so
He was a
yeah,
BB?
this is Central-ish.
Central East, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's back when banking was super local. He was a football coach, and then he was a superintendent of BB High for 8 years, and then he got to move that over to be the president of a community bank.
Yeah.
And it was a bank called Citizens Bank. And he was there, and I would guess 8 years in, maybe 12, somewhere around there. First Security bought him, and he ran a couple of branches for First Security for another 10, 12 years.
Well, there's a term for a son of a banker. You're an SOB.
Yeah.
So I guess you're a GSOB. But no, that's neat. And I guess the good thing is that since it's in your bloodline, you may end up in the banking world someday. But that's neat part of your story.
Yeah. No, and what was great about it, and which I didn't understand at the time, is he wanted me to get into banking so bad, but or anything financial. But I can barely add my golf scores correctly. That's about as high as I go. So
it's not very high most of the time there, Charlie.
That's why I had to get good, because it was just a guess after like 84. So, but what I learned from him, and which I didn't realize at the time, is about how much of his job was relationship based in the community, going to events, giving back, and asking him like, "Hey, what are you doing? I thought you just were with a calculator."
Yeah.
He's like, "No, that's part of the job, but it's not a big part of the job. I need to really know people and give them a reason to come to our bank, and not only give them a reason to come the first time, but come back the 100th time."
Yeah.
And without all this, and without really caring for people, they see through it, and they'll find someone that does care. So I didn't know that would help push me into a life of relationship building, but it certainly did.
Yeah. Well, I know you do a pretty daggum good job of it. So, no, it's been neat to learn about your world. I think there's a lot of similarities, obviously, from what we do and do here. But definitely maybe at a different scope where you're at. So it's really, really neat to hear. I know Luke was super excited to get to learn about what being a lobbyist is like. So.
Yeah, new to it all.
Yeah, and if I would tell anyone that if they have any free time during the legislative session, is to go watch it.
C-SPAN?
Yeah, no, in Little Rock you can just show up. I'm sure Banking Association does it, but we do. I do a big day at the Capitol for all my employees to come see, and not only that, let legislators see when the people I'm talking for, and let them meet them and hear them and see them, and it helps them connect with constituents, and it helps me show that I'm not just talking out of my butt.
Well, I think you debunked a big misnomer about lobbyists, but is there anything about the Capitol specifically that people just, there's probably a public perception and probably just an entirely different reality at the Capitol?
Yeah, I think the perception, especially with state legislators, is that they go do whatever they want, and you can just go talk to them if you a lot of backdoor deals, and that's really not the case. I don't think I've ever made a backdoor deal about a big issue. It's always been with 1,000 stakeholders in the room. It's really hard to do backdoor deals because every other interest, if they're smart, has someone like me there. And the legislators want to do a really good job, and they try to listen to everyone. And I think the biggest misnomers you'll hear is like, oh, he's bought and paid for by whatever issue you want to call it on either side. And that's not true. If you go look, they probably said, I want to go to the Capitol to do this.
Yeah.
And when they go do that, people are saying, "Oh my gosh, he's paid for." It's like, well, no, he told you what he was going to do beforehand.
Yeah.
I don't know if you thought he was lying, but they listen, and I've had issues that I thought were just really easy issues that they randomly got blown up back home by 50, 60 people, and it doesn't sound like a lot of people. 50 or 60 people in their district reach out to them about an issue. State legislators are probably not going to go against it. They're there, and they'll tell you we're there just to do what you want me to do. And if I don't hear from you, I'm going to rely on those basic principles that I told you were my principles when you elected me. But I mean, the common folk are way better lobbyists than me, because they have the power to vote in and out people, and I don't. I only have one vote for my local legislator, and he knows he can probably override me. So I think people just that's why I would urge anyone to go just watch it yourself and see and understand it. It's pretty fascinating stuff to see how something like, why can't I just dig in my house? That's my property. That's my own property. Why can't I dig there?
Yeah.
How that comes around and the reasons why.
Well, I got a quick, great story about a guy that that I know, and he told me a story that one of his, I wouldn't say buddies, but maybe an acquaintance of his lived over in Blue Eye, and he said that the authorities had to be called because he was shooting straight up in the air. And they were asking him, "Sir, what are you doing? Why are you shooting straight up in the air?" And he said, "Well, the way I see it, I own about everything between here and the moon. and I'm not shooting on anybody else's property, but it's going straight up in the air." So
that's just Little Rock fireworks.
Exactly.